Professor Elmarie Kritzinger, and I'm from the University of South Africa. I've been at the university for about 20 years now. I've been at the university for 20 years, and my main research field is information security. I've done my PhD in information security, but in the last 10 years, I decided to go into education. And I did my PGCE, and last year I completed my MEd just to go more into the education stream. And why I did this is because I'm involved in cyber safety awareness. And that is the workshop of today. So let's just try and share the screen again and hope technology is on our side this afternoon. So why am I involved in cyber safety awareness? Well, we're going to talk about the cyber safety awareness toolkit that was created at the University of South Africa, the British High Commission, and the Department of Communications and Technology. Because we found teachers is not properly trained, parents got a need for cyber safety awareness, and how do they address technology with their learners? If we just think about technology, and we heard about technologies throughout the span of this morning, how technology has changed. Just think in your own life of how it was and how it is today. The way we talk via mobile phones, the way we read books, the way we look at televisions, the streaming that we have today, the way we listen to music, and we do our working task, for instance, typing or doing messages. So technology has changed in different ways. One of the keynote speakers this morning talked about the fourth industrial revolution, and we are in it. For those of you that don't know what is the fourth industrial revolution, a very brief cap of what it's all about. The first industrial revolution, about 1800, the steam engines, factories, and textile industry started popping up. So this is basically the first time we are looking at a change the way people have done stuff. And this started very slowly over the years, but in the late 1800s, mass productions started becoming the norm. The light bulb was invented, the telephone, electricity, and so on. So the development became quicker and quicker. Only a few years later, in 1970, the third industrial revolution started, which was the digital age technology we have today. The fourth industrial revolution is the founder of the World Economic Forum, Prof. in 2016 said, the fourth industrial revolution is characterized by technology revolution. It's the fusion of technology, and the lines be different things that is technology and uses technology is getting fuzzy. The physical, the digital, and the biological spheres are merging together. It's reality that's currently unthinkable. Many things that we see today, we would not have even fathomed a few years ago that is possible. And the fourth industrial revolution is not only changing of what we are doing, but it changes who we are. Human beings are merging into technologies. Technologies is merging into the biological sphere. So we can't ignore it. It's already here. So the question is, are we prepared? Are the world prepared? Are schools prepared? And are parents prepared? Currently, we are preparing school learners for, today for being the workforce in the future. Some people say, maybe some people say this is not true. Some people believe it, that many of the jobs that our children will do one day, school learners of today, have not been invented. Thinking about 3D printing of food being 3D printed, all the possibilities out there. This graph really shows the growth of technology from the printing press right through very slowly, the light bulb, the car, the television, as we talked about the growth of the Industrial Revolution. And then the curve sharpens, the landing on the moon, And then after it is an exponential growth. Just think about the first time you were introduced to a microprocessor, MS-DOS. Many of us worked on MS-DOS. And then it accelerated to the World Wide Web, DVDs, YouTube, the iPad, 3D movies and 3D chips, printing, digital currencies, and so on. So we are really in a world of technology, and the adoption of new technologies by human beings. That is what we're talking about. And many of the speakers has mentioned this as well. Just one example of how technology is growing. It took 75 years for the telephone to have 100 million users. It took Instagram 2 years, and it took Pokemon Go 1 month. If you look at some of the YouTubers these days, they will get 100 million users within a few days. So it's definitely technology is part of who we are. And are we prepared as educators and parents? Examples of this fourth industrial revolution, robotics that we just heard about, one of the things that's going to be incorporated in the schools. Nanotechnology, 3D printing is now everywhere that we need to get on board. Gene editing, Bitcoin, which is digital currencies, and all of these terms, maybe it's unfamiliar to us, but it's getting more and more familiar to the youngsters out there. The scale, the speed, and the impact of technology is changing at an alarming rate. And some of us feel we are being left behind, but that is why we're talking about it now. I like this picture. In a minute, this is what's happening on the internet. 21 million texts are being sent. Facebook, 1.4 logins, snaps created, tweeting, and all of that. And this really shows that people around the globe is actively engaging on the internet and becoming more and more dependent on the internet. This is also a very nice way to look at it, is the fifth dimension. As you know, the 3 dimensions, the fourth they said is time. And many people says the fifth dimension is cyberspace. So what is cyberspace? That's a virtual computer network that links networkings and devices and people to one another. It is redesigning our reality. Chain values of business is changing, and especially in an environment where online schooling is becoming more and more part of the norm, as we saw from last year and this year. We are all connected to the internet through work, socializing, or education. This internet, this cyberspace is borderless. It sometimes do not have rules or policies that govern it. And that's the issue we're going to talk about, cyber safety awareness. If we look at the Internet of Things, more and more people is connected every day. These stats are a little bit old, but this has absolutely increased in the last year and a half that people worked from home and they did education from home. Currently, there's more devices in this Internet of Things than human beings. And in 2013, that was a while back, the first device hacked many people through a malicious email attempt. So as we said, it's not only where you can separate technology and humans, they are integrated. And we have to start looking at and familiarizing us with cybersecurity, cyber ethics, and cybercrime. The one thing we also must talk about is users are the weakest links in all businesses. That is organizations. That is when you do banking, when you do online learning, when you do socializing, people is the weakest links. And many times cyber risks happen because the user of technology, the cyber user, is not aware. They do not understand the negative things that can happen in cyberspace. So they're not unaware, cyber attack comes in and they become a victim. And we'll talk about a little bit who are the victims and what can go wrong. When we talk to learners, we talk about your digital footprints. And this is where the learners comes in a little bit more. School learners and as well as parents and educators do not always understand what footprint they have in cyberspace. Once you uploaded a text, a picture, anything like that, a voice, a comment, it's in the digital environment for always. You cannot delete it. You cannot take it down. You cannot take it back. It is there for always. And it can impact anything in the future because it is not, you cannot take it down. You cannot delete it. So if a school learner posts a photo today, they cannot take it back. And many times, many years down the line, it becomes a problem that old tweet, that SMS, that WhatsApp, that photo is being surfaced again. So when we talked about learners, we talk about three things: cyber ethics, cyber safety, and cyber security. And we're going to quickly look at all three of those today. So cyber security. Cyber security is defined to cover physical protection of hardware and software. And there we look at malware, botnets, fireworks, antivirus protection, and passwords. A very good technical concepts indeed, but still we need to know some of these concepts when we go into cyberspace. When we give our 18-year-old a car, we will make sure that they've got a driver's license, they've had their lessons, they are able to drive that car responsibly. So when we give any device that is weapon-able to school learners, we must make sure that they understand to some extent these concepts. The next one is cyber safety, online predators, cyber stalking, identity theft, phishing, cyberbullying, a very, very important one, cyberbullying, and unwanted communication. So these are the terms that's non-technical and that we have to start having an open discussion. Do we understand it? And do we understand the risks that is involved in all of these terms? And then cyber ethics, that's the third pillar we must understand. Plagiarism, behavior hacking. How do we act in cyberspace? Cyberspace in itself do not have rules, borders, policies, police controlling it, but we must make sure is when our school learners or the children have access to cyberspace, they have this ethical foundation that they will be willing to act in cyberspace exactly the same way as they will act in real life. Many times that we see is we've got the ethical basis for real life, but as soon as we go over to the cyberspace, our ethics changes because we think it's a different environment, a different world, if we can call it that. And therefore we must have critical discussions with cyber users to say is you have to have the same ethics, because if you don't, that can lead to things like cyberbullying and so on. When we as educators, teachers, parents, principals, we, especially the ones that is a little bit older, we know we are digital immigrants. We have not been born with technology. Technology only was given to us very late in our careers, in our life. So we have to learn, and it is very difficult to learn technology if you were not introduced to it from an early age. But the children that's being born today, that's in schools today, they have been born with technology. Their love of technology, their viewpoint of technology are very different from ours, and we have to start understanding it from their point of view. I've got 3 children myself, and according to them, if it cannot be said in a picture, it cannot be said at all. So emojis plays a very big role in a lot of the cyber users in schools. So we have to displace ourselves from what we know into the world of the learner, what they experience and what they expect from technology. So we have to adapt. I know it's not always easy, but we have to learn and adapt. When you look at research, and at University of South Africa, we do quite a lot of research. We have seen school learners is a soft target, and they're very, very vulnerable for things like grooming, especially cyberbullying. And the consequences is very dire in many cases, because learners, they still don't have that ethical foundation of If something is done, there is consequences. And what can that consequences be? How do the cyber victim feel? What happens if I'm the cyber victim? So the school learners don't have that mature platform if something goes wrong. And this is where we as educators have to come in and start working with the school learners and the children to prepare themselves when they are in cyberspace and something goes wrong, that they can deal with it, or that they know that they have somebody in their life that they can go and speak to. One of the research that we've done says a lot of school learners have mobile phones, and a lot of them is with an adult, and they probably will get data from parents, or they will just get a free Wi-Fi at school or something. So school learners these days have some kind of device, or they have a friend which device they can use. And 63% said they have got access to inappropriate internet material. 64% said the parents do not monitor their devices at all. And 35% said they're hiding things from their parents. 76% posted photographs from other people that they did not like. And in the follow-up question, it was indicated that they did not have permission to post pictures of those specific people. And 65% are aware of cyberbullying in their schools. Cyberbullying in schools is becoming more and more a problem in sense of, especially if school learners are at home in the last year and a half, that is all that they experience. It is 24/7, it is constant. So cyberbullying is a growing concern in the schools. If we look at the parent side, is 61% of the parents did not monitor online activities. They did not request their children to ask permissions, downloading apps and so on. And 61% had no parental guidance on the mobile phones. The one question usually when I ask learners is, how many of you hide the history in your browser? And many of them says they do. So then I ask them is, why do they hide the history? Because there's only one reason why any learner will hide history. They did something that they should not do. So the warning signs are there. A lot of the school learners now have tablets. They've got access to mobile phones that can go onto the web, but we're not guiding them correctly. We're not giving the tools to be safe within cyberspace. So what is the warnings of technology? Inappropriate contact. This is a reality, and we have found through the research that inappropriate content over a time can have other consequences. For instance, gender-based violences and so on. A lot of research must still be done to find out what can go wrong, but this is a very big problem, especially in high schools. FOMO, fear of missing out. And this is not always just among school learners. I think this is amongst all adults. We're afraid that we're missing out on something. We're afraid we're not part of a group. We're afraid that we are missing a message or two. So we are spending 24/7 on our mobile phones. Our children and our learners see it and they copy us. So we as educators must be very careful of what we portray and show the children and the learners of how to use technology. Gaming, a very great concern. The internet addiction has received fresh scrutiny from the World Health Organization and is added to the disorder list. So this is not just something we can pass off. We must notice it. And if we see there's a problem, we must address it. No downtime. If the device of the school learner or the child is not set, they've got access. You think they're sleeping, meanwhile, they are playing or chatting online. Emotional issues, social issues, addictions, and replacing the here and now with the reality. So the warnings of technology are there. I'm going to pause myself and I'm going to say is, technology is a very good thing to have. It has got lots of advantages in education, in socializing and everything. Technology is a very good tool in schools. However, we must be aware of the dangers and address that accordingly. So let's have a little bit look about cyber safety awareness in South Africa. Currently, teachers are ill-equipped. There's not a lot of teaching opportunities to teach the teacher, because the only way how we're going to teach the learners is teach the teachers. It's not part of the curriculum. School learners is only introduced with technology in 1 or 2 or 3 years in their whole of the school lifetime. So technology is not at the forefront within the curriculum. Lack of involvement of school governing bodies, social barriers, lack of parents, as we saw. So we created the university, British High Commission, with the part of this toolkit. And what we've done with the toolkit is we've created different themes. That is the introduction of all the concepts and the problems into cyberspace. We've got 5 themes. We've got a trip into cyberspace, protecting people, securing devices, smart apps, and useful information. And under each of these themes, we've got 3 topics that we'll address in that themes. And for each theme, we've got the little mascot there. So we move through all the different aspects of cyberspace that you have to have knowledge on. So we created this toolkit, and we're going to talk in the last few minutes of this presentation, what is the toolkit about and how you can access the toolkit. The toolkit was created on the ADCAR approach, you probably know this approach, on awareness, desire, knowledge, action, and reinforcements. And we use things like posters, videos, games, cartoons, and so on to go through all these steps. So the toolkit composes of the online platform. There's the 2 web addresses that you can go to. We've got 2 workbooks I'll show you just now. Activities, there's a video, there's posters, cartoons, games, and so on. And we translated one of the workbooks in all the different languages. And as soon as we get more funding, we're going to translate all the other material as well. I think the posters is translated, and I think the pledge is translated, but we want to translate all the other materials as well to get that to all the different languages in South Africa. So that's just an overview of the themes and the topics. We color coded it that we can move from one theme to another one. We created our cyber cadets, inclusive of South Africa, and each of them you will see has got the same colors as the themes. So each of the cadets have their own power. Here is General Flame, and she's on a trip into cyberspace. So when we work through the posters, the cartoons, and the workbook, we try to keep it the color coded to the mascot, to the different themes. We've got Professor Guardian, that is protecting people. And at the end of that little cartoon strip, the tips that is given by Professor Guardian. We've got Techno, that is securing devices. This is a little bit more, as we talked about, a little bit on the technical side, looking at the devices, the malware protection, and so on. We've got the applicator for smart devices, social media, safe browsing, and gaming. And then we've got crypto, useful information, things like passwords, and things like that. So we tried really, when we worked through the toolkit, to make it as easy as possible for teachers to use it by themselves, or to have it in a class activity environment where they can interact with the learners as well. We've got the pledges there, we've got the tips there. And we made it as visualized as possible, that no matter the age of the learner, that they can take from these workbooks, from these pledges, from these posters, what is important to them. This is an example of one of the 2 books that we have. This is the guide. So you will see the color coding then, and each of the themes is then going in detail. We're giving tips, we're giving information, we're giving definitions that they can discuss with the class and just get a little bit more knowledge that regarding cyberspace. The workbook is a follow-up to the guide, and what we've done in here, we used many of similar text and wording for each of the themes. What we added to this is that the teachers can use this as a guide Let me see if I can stop it at the next page. So what we added in here was some activities that can be done in the class. We've included the cartoon and some reflection questions and then activities at the end. So for each of the themes, we added that as well. So it becomes an activity book that each learner can have, or one in the classroom, and that they can use. Got the answers as well, because we always need the answers to everything. So this toolkit includes the cyber safety tips. That is the tips at the end of the cartoon. We've got our calendar. There's some games, videos, and the cyber safety policies and procedure guide that we will talk about just now. So the two things that's very important is a focusing on school. There's a document that is on the website as well, that is a guide to school governing bodies and principles of what must be in place within the school to protect the learners. There must be a cyber safety awareness committee. There must be a policy. The policy must be provided to the teachers, to the parents, and to the learners. And all the parents must sign that they understand it. Within these documents, it's clearly stated, if there is a cyber incident, what is the process of addressing the cyber incidents? What will, how will the cyber victim be supported? When will the police get involved? When will social services get involved? So that must be in place for each school. If, for instance, if two learners is within a cyberbullying problem, how do they address it? And it's very critical. So if you're in this workshop today and you are a principal or a governing body, go back to your school and make sure that these documents is in place, that it's not if there's something is going to happen, it is just when. And more is the responsibility put on the schools to ensure that the school learners are safe, and if there's appropriately actions when a cyber incidents occur. So we've got all this material. It is free to everybody, and we had to get a platform to bring it to schools, to principals, to parents even, and we do it through the MOOC. If you were at the end of the last speaker, there was a comment from Dr. Gous got the ISET robotic MOOCs. It's on the same platform. So we've got the ISET robotic MOOCs on one set from Patricia Gous and the cyber safety MOOCs. And it's free on the UNISA space. So UNISA is a zero-rated platform. You don't pay anything. So you access it, you register, we'll go through the registration quickly. And it's open to everybody. Registration is at any time, and you work through all this material that I showed you now. And there's some activities, there's some assessments that you have to do, and at the end you get a certificate of participation if you've participated in all the activities. So let's just see if this video will play. There is sound. If you don't hear the sound, don't worry, you can just read.
MOOC stands for Massive Open Online Course, free for anyone who wants to learn. MOOCs give you access to a variety of introductory courses taught by leading UNISA academics. In this MOOC, we will cover cyber safety awareness for teachers. Our children are growing up in an online world, from social networking, studying, and online classrooms, to gaming, entertainment, and beyond. The internet is part of their everyday reality. But despite all its advantages, cyberspace comes with some security risks too. All cyber users, especially children, need to learn how to protect themselves and their personal information from potential cyber threats. This MOOC is for school teachers, principals, school representatives who want to learn more about cyber safety. This cyber safety information you need to keep your learners safe in cyberspace. The course content will introduce 5 engaging themes, namely a trip into cyberspace, protecting people, securing devices, smart apps, and useful information. Are 3 relevant topics that will provide further insight. These are the Cyber Cadets. They are a team of cyber superheroes on a mission to help protect learners from the risks of cyberspace. General Flame, Professor Guardian, Techno, the Applicator, and Crypto will expertly guide you through each of the 5 themes included in this MOOC. After completing this MOOC, you'll be equipped with a full understanding of cyber safety, as well as useful learning materials that enable you to confidently help school learners improve cyber safety awareness. The course includes 5 themes with 3 topics in each. It comes complete with downloadable learning materials, assessments, and self-reflection tasks. You can do the course at your own pace and start at any time in the year. This MOOC is online and available to anyone at no cost. All you need is an internet connection and no prior knowledge is necessary. All supporting material is free to download and use in schools. It's also available in different languages. Register now at mooc.unisa.ac.za.
So if anybody's interested in participating, please go to the MOOC space. That is the web address for the MOOC UNISA portal. As I said, if you're interested in the iSet robotic MOOCs as well, it's exactly the same process. When you get there, you're going to set up a new account. You're going to choose your own login and password. And when you press on membership, you can then press the cyber safety MOOC for teachers. If you want to do the iSet one, you just pick that one. There's a few other ones as well. You are open to choose as many as you want. And then you can start the course. As I said, you can start anytime. It is interactive. There is forums that you can discuss your question on. So please, if you've got the need to learn more about cyber safety awareness, or you want to use it in your classrooms or schools, please feel free to join us on the MOOC. And that is the workshop for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Kritzinger. Any questions from the participants that can be directed to Prof? Okay, I can take this one question, Prof. Are these materials that you're having here, can the school learners use them by themselves? Because why am I asking this? We, as Isaac has said earlier on, we want to establish science clubs. And then with these science clubs, we'd love to have the learners in charge of their activities, and it's quite key that the learners in the clubs are familiar with these guidelines in terms of how to guard against cyberbullying and the safety, as you have highlighted. So, can learners by themselves with this toolkit be able to do that, or would have to have them enrolling in a course?
No, we created this toolkit, the workbooks, the guide and the workbook, that it is easily readable for everybody. So parents can read it on their own, teachers can use it as a guide, the learners, if they've got a copy, they can do it on their own. So we try to keep it as easy and accessible for everybody. As we said, there is some different languages, so you pick the language. So if you've got one student or they want to do it independently, by all means they can do it. If they're on a group, they can do that as well. So yes, either or, it depends on your need, and that you can then do it.
So there's no need for us to be engaging you in terms of their participation, or we need to, because what we're doing now with the provincial education department is that we slot in the trainings that we would love them to share with us from our stakeholders. So maybe we can work with you to organize the training sessions for the educators in an organized manner. Will that do?
Yes, so we tell people, if you've got a need, let us know, and we see where we can fit it in. One of the questions was, is the manuals be printed and distributed without permission? So what we do is, at UNISA, we've got community engagement. So it's part of our academic workload, is community engagement. And how we see a community engagement is we use our knowledge for communities to uplift communities free of charge. So the British High Commission and the Department of Technology, we spend and we created Toolkit for everybody. It is free. You can download it. You can give it to whoever you want, as long as there's no money involved. So the whole idea is it's free. It's open to everybody. You can print it. You can distribute it in the original form that it is. And if there's no money involved, please print it, give it out. The farther we can get this message, the better.
Thank you very much, Prof. I see Nolizwi Sopeke. You can go on with the question.
Thank you very much, Siskoki. Thank you very much for this powerful presentation. I find it very, very informative. But my question I was about to raise, which I've already raised on the chat, has already been responded to when you were asking if whether the MOOC program is open to everybody, including the learners. I was just looking at myself because I'm working for the Department of Education. I'm based at the district office. So I would like to empower myself, but more than empowering myself, I would like to get teachers involved so that we get into this space and be aware of what is involved in the cyberspace, and we work according to the terms and conditions that are set so that we are all safe. So thank you very much for the presentation.
Oh, fantastic, very much. My email address was on that last slide. Yes, please contact me if you think we can change it, as that is a different way we can incorporate it according to your rules. So yes, we want to get it in all the schools in South Africa as part of a drive to make South Africans cyber safe, not only the learners, but the parents as well, because South Africa, unfortunately, is on, I think, third or so on the list of cyber crimes. So it is happening in South Africa, and the sooner we prepare communities, the better. And the aim is, in this case, it's free to communities. It is knowledge sharing, it's upliftment of communities. And if you've got better vehicles, better platforms that we can share this information, please let me know. We are happy to partner with anybody to get the message out.
Thanks very much for the response. Any more questions to Prof? I can't see hands. I think anybody who wants to ask can just pounce.
Here, it's Erna Taljaard speaking. Thank you very much. I just would like to put everybody's mind at ease here, and that is that we will be sharing Professor Kritzinger's PowerPoint presentation on our conference webpage. And I'm sure that we are also going to send everybody who registered for the conference, based on your email addresses that you registered with, we will provide you with the link to the conference webpage. So everybody going forward for the rest of the conference, please know that all presentations, we will be sharing it, and you will be receiving the people's contact details.
Maybe to, as a closure, to thank Professor Kritzinger for a well informative presentation. We're looking forward to working with her in terms of having the word out. It is something that is quite needed in these days of us, where we engage with these cyber gadgets. Thanks to everybody for participating and attending, and thanks to you as well, Prof. Thanks. We can now go back to the link on the chat box. I think it was shared. Go back to the plenary. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.